So now I think we're on to choosing our behavior. So I'm going to read this poem, and then we will talk about how it relates to choosing our behavior. So this poem is called An Autobiography in 5 short chapters. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault, and it takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault, and it still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is still there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It's my fault, and I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down another street. So I'd like you to consider a hole in your life, and a hole is a repetitive problem. So maybe it's an argument you keep having with a student, colleague, administrator, or family member. Maybe your hole is procrastination. Maybe your hole is believing you're thinking and getting depressed. So just consider one hole. It doesn't need to be the biggest hole in your life, but just one hole that you have. And then consider some different streets. So I'm going to talk about a common hole for school-age children. And that has to do with doing homework or doing chores. So when it's time to do homework or to do chores, students often get angry or frustrated and spend a lot of time arguing. And if they know that and you know that, then you can choose a different street. They can choose a different street. So rather than getting, say, frustrated with math homework, it might be time for a student to go get a drink or a snack, take a walk, listen to a favorite song, and then come back to the math problem. So the analogy of holes and different streets is a way I use to teach students about responding rather than reacting. So another place that this might show up is that someone might say something unkind to a student on the playground or in the cafeteria or in the hallway, and the student may get angry and say something unkind back. And other streets would be for the student to walk away, to take a deep breath and say something funny, to get help from a supportive adult rather than letting the argument escalate. So we can all learn to respond rather than react most of the time, but maybe not all of the time. So now I'd like to give you another practice that will support you in responding. And as with all of the practices, you can teach these practices to your students as well. So this is a peace practice, and it's an acronym in English. I don't know how it's going to work in Korean, but I'm trusting you can figure it out. So this is a practice for when things are difficult. So when you notice things are difficult, the first step is P, which is for pause. Simply pause. The next step is E, and E is for exhale. So when you notice things are difficult, you want to pause and exhale. And after you exhale, you want to inhale and just keep breathing. A is for acknowledge, accept, and allow. And I'm going to use an example for a student. So perhaps your backpack with all your stuff is gone. Your best friend is now your ex-best friend. Your boyfriend or girlfriend is now dating your ex-best friend. And so acknowledging the situation simply means that you recognize the situation as it is. It doesn't mean you like it. It just means that it is the way it is. Accepting it means accepting that it is the way it is and allowing all your feelings, angry, sad, jealous, all of the above. And then C is for choosing your behavior. And C involves some other C's. So compassion for yourself, which my colleague Karen Bluth is speaking about, compassion for others, compassion for how hard and complicated it can be to be a human being. Courage to speak your truth and hear the truth of others. Clarity, willing to be clear about what's your responsibility and what's someone else's responsibility. And the last C is for comedy, and a better word might be humor, but humor in English doesn't start with C, so we'll go with comedy. Sometimes just finding a sense of humor can be extremely helpful. So after you've paused, exhaled, acknowledged, accepted, and allowed, and chosen your behavior, then you can engage with the situation. And when you engage, you may engage after a few minutes or a few hours or a few days or a few weeks, but you want to wait until you can engage skillfully. So it's helpful to remember that you can use peace, this peace practice, in any difficult moment. And sometimes there are moments where doing the entire peace practice the way we just did it is a bit too long. And so in those brief moments, you can use a shorter acronym, ABC, for aware, breathe, choose. So this might be for a moment, again, when a student's struggling with homework or a difficulty with a friend or a mistake in a musical performance or when they're doing sports. And it can be as simple as, I'm aware I made a mistake, I'm taking a deep breath, and I'm choosing to move forward.